Lately, man, I'm more just kind of about my health. Like, I'm kind of about the longevity of it, you know? I don't knock anybody that wants to do steroids. Do what you gotta do. I've been there, I've done that. I ain't here to judge no other man. But I think, in my opinion, the safer route, honestly, is to just, you know, if you want that little bump, you want that little boost, you wanna feel a little better, SARMs is the way to go.
What's up guys, Derek, moreplacemoredates.com. Today we are going to be reacting to Remington James. He made a post called How I Use SARMs and All the Supplements I Take, Fat Loss and Muscle Growth. So a few of you guys asked me to watch it through. I already did before I started recording. And honestly, the main part to kind of go over is the just the SARMs part, because the supplements is just, you know, basic shit that I would basically agree with, you know, like a protein powder. He had a like a green supplement. Like, obviously, ideally you would get it through your diet, but if you're not going to get it through your diet, like, you gotta have fucking something in there ideally. But anyways, the SARMs part in question, that's what we're going to jump back to, because he made some interesting claims in there that you know, don't really make a lot of sense to me. So anyways, I'll just go through the intro and then jump to the SARMs part.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm gonna break down every single compound that I currently take. The ones that are helping me build a little extra muscle, the ones that help me burn a little extra fat, and everything in between, man. My goal with this video is to be 100% transparent with anybody watching. I wanna be realistic. I wanna show you exactly what it is that I take and why I take it, and that way you can come away from this, hopefully a little bit of knowledge, man. I think there's a lot of muddied waters out there. Some people don't tell you they take anything at all. Some people tell you they take everything, and I just wanna be completely real and transparent and honest. So yeah, that's what we're doing today, people. So buckle that seatbelt, because you're in for one heck of a ride. So if you guys are ready.
It's like a perpetual, like, it's like zooming in, then it pops back out, then it zooms back in, then it pops back out. This camera editing is interesting. Okay, so let's jump ahead here to the SARMs part.
With those side effects, I just didn't handle them. Has probably been waiting for, baby. So a little bit of clarity here. Some of you might have seen my video I made on steroids a while back. I talked about how I used to do a lot of different steroid cycles. I tried these compounds, and in that video I broke down that my biggest problem with them was the amount of side effects I got, right? I got really bad acne from it. Had trouble sleeping on certain things. My blood pressure would get really high. I had to go donate blood. I would get these headaches. Overall, man, my body and steroids, I'm just not built very well to deal with those side effects. I just didn't handle them well. And to be honest, I couldn't tell you the last time I did a crazy steroid cycle. Everything now for me, and like what I take now, if I want that little boost and that little edge, it is SARMs. You might be wondering what SARMs are, and to be honest, I'm really not the most knowledgeable person ever on them. If you want more information on SARMs, check out, hey, my buddy Ankrum Fitness's channel. I think you just type in Ryan Ankrum or Ankrum Fitness on YouTube, he'll pop up. He's got tons of videos on SARMs. He'll break it down way more than I know. I get all my advice from him. But basically,
so the thing I'd be interested is this guy on TRT, is he just natural and he uses the SARMs? Because that is going to play very strongly into what my opinion is of what he's about to say. Like, I don't actually know what he takes as his like base, if anything.
I know I'm trying to cut, or I want to put on, you know, 5-10 pounds of muscle, depending on what I'm trying to do. I know that I can take these, and I tend to get no side effects at all, no negative side effects at least, and I just feel better. I get a little stronger. My shoulders start popping a little more. I don't know if you can see me right now, but I'm almost at the end of a little 8-week thing of RAD 140 and GW 51-516. That's cardarine.
Okay, so just disclaimer off the bat, are these side effect free compounds? No, not at all. RAD 140 has been through one clinical trial assessing its effects via exposure. Like, it's not even really a strong indicator of its efficacy whatsoever. They showed very vague metrics of how hepatotoxic it is, how effective it is at achieving a clinical endpoint that is totally kind of irrelevant to the context in which we're interested in. And then he's holding up a PPAR delta agonist, which was pulled from clinical trials after it was shown to induce cancer in rodents, which, if you actually calculate the human equivalent dose, is not that high. It was like in the 30s or 40s or some shit. I don't remember what it was. Watch my video on what is the cardarine dose that caused cancer. I did that video a while ago, and I actually broke down the actual human equivalent dose with the formula in question that you would use in order to convert it from the rodent model to a human model. So a lot of people think the cardarine dose, the equivalent is, you know, hundreds of milligrams. In reality, it isn't. Now, again, obviously the lifespan of the rodent has to come into question too. The exposure of the compound, even if it's for whatever amount of weeks, could be like, you know, a huge percentage of the rodent's overall lifespan. Whereas for a human, you're not going to be exposing yourself to it for years on end. You'd be exposing yourself to it for, you know, one fucking 10,000th of your life or some shit. Like, there is some context to read into, but again, is it worth the risk for whatever additional, you know, endurance boost you're getting out of it, a little bit of PPAR delta agonism for, you know, some more improved lipid metabolism, improving your HDL a bit. Like, is it really worth the risk? I don't know. You know, obviously it's a personal question to ask, but I don't think a lot of people realize, yeah, it's not side effect free and that you literally notice the representation of a side effect, but it could be brewing up some shit that you don't really want down the line. Like cancer. Like we don't know for sure. But again, the dose equivalent is not as high as what would make me a lot more comfortable with using it. So that, like, I don't fucking use it, and that's for that exact reason. So anyways, let's get into what he has to say about these compounds.
I give it these fancy code names, but that's cardarine. And that's 20 milligrams of rad a day. So there's 2 of these pills and 20 grams of cardarine a day. So
okay, so keep in mind the half-life of RAD140 is a lot longer than we once anticipated before the first clinical trial pre-release data came out in actually outlining the pharmacokinetic profile, or at least a vague pharmacokinetic profile via its half-life in humans. So it is going to have a cumulative effect and build up in your system quite substantially. And anyways, let's let him continue and chime in some more.
Not even a crazy SARM cycle, to be honest. But just even that little bit seems to do a lot on just like puffing my shoulders out, giving me a little more strength. I feel better. The rad itself, in my opinion, is probably the holy grail of SARMs. When you take this, it's excellent whether you're trying to cut, whether you're trying to bulk, it retaining muscle mass or building lean muscle. I love this stuff for that. And then cardarine is really good for...
Okay, so circling back to the RAD140 clinical study done, let's look at preclinical data first. So it was a very, very promising SARM, and pulled out of the ass of some idiot online was that it had a 90-to-1 tissue selectivity, making it the most tissue selective of all the SARMs and the most efficacious for the practical application in which it would be deployed. However, in real life, does it actually have that tissue selectivity? No, no, it doesn't, dude. Like, I don't know where that statistic came from. It was pulled out of some guy's like literal fucking asshole and just applied haphazardly into, you know, people's recommendations all over the place. Does that mean the compound's bad though? Not necessarily, but it has very, very little data. Now, the preclinical data was very, very interesting in showing that using it concurrently with testosterone was reducing androgenicity in the body compared to the exact same dose of test on, you know, the same subjects, not humans, keep in mind, but resulting in much higher anabolic activity overall. So literally having like an anti-androgenic impact on prostate, if I recall correctly, and increasing anabolic activity simultaneously. Now, relating this back to the first human study, it was like, you know, the actual metrics kind of, I forget off the top of my head, I think they went up to like 150 milligrams or something, which is crazy considering the dosage used for, you know, performance enhancing purposes is a lot lower than that, like way less than that. Like he's talking about 20 milligrams. And I'm pretty sure they were using, at the lowest, it was like 50, upwards of 150 in the human model. I forget what it was, but they had, I don't remember if it was different dosage arms. You'd have to go watch my video. I'll put a card in the corner where I actually like broke it down. It was a 150 milligram RAD140 per day study. Editor will find it, put a card up there for you to check out. All the details are in there. But basically when you dig through that, again, it's a phase 1 trial using, basically assessing the response to this compound just in a like general exposure context and seeing if it meets any clinical endpoints. Totally irrelevant to, you know, what we'd be using it for here. And of course the dosage is much higher than what people are using RAD140 for, you know, performance purposes. So that is promising in itself. However, when you actually compare how many patients experience hepatotoxicity, it's not none. It was similar to something like an Anadrol. And if you recall correctly, Anadrol was used at similar dosages, you know, 50, 100 plus in fucking like pretty much. I don't remember if it was literally used in children at those dosages too, but I believe like generally widespread, it was a pretty like high dose compound comparable to what people are using for performance enhancement purposes. So when you compare them like compound for compound, one has a lot of data on it and is a known carcinogen, you know, being Anadrol. Not necessarily saying it's better than RAD140, but when you actually compare it like milligram for milligram, at least in the study available, it's definitely not side effect free. RAD140, I believe, has the exact same proportion of liver toxicity to Anadrol, and the actual degree and severity to which this hepatotoxicity occurred, we don't really know because the study details have not been released. So, you know, to say you don't feel anything necessarily doesn't mean nothing bad is going on. And if you're on TRT, this is totally different than a guy who is not on TRT. Like, I'm going to just venture to guess Remington James is on TRT. I don't actually know, to be honest. I could be way off, but I mean, if you are a natural using RAD140, you will get shut the fuck down, like so hard. It's not even just about liver toxicity at that point and other biomarkers. It's gonna fucking ruin your lipids, by the way, crush your SHBG. These are things you have to keep in mind. that you might not feel right away, but test suppression, naturals will feel. You will feel this shit. This is one of the harshest compounds on suppression from the SARMs world. So yes, it is very, very serious and not something to take lightly.
Really good for cutting because it increases your cardio performance. You guys already know I do 40 minutes cardio every single day. When I'm on this stuff, I feel like it's just way easier. Way easier. I'm breathing better. Everything feels good. My workouts are more intense. I recover better. But yeah, SARMs, you know, I think I'm at a point in my life where I don't see myself ever doing a crazy steroid cycle again just because.
Okay, so like cardarine, is it going to make that drastic of a difference on your endurance? Yeah, it can. It actually makes a very noticeable difference on your output. Like what you can actually do in an endurance setting, like, you know, long distance running, cycling, in the bedroom, lots of stuff. However, is this something you should be really using like ever? Like how important is it to you to get these extra like better times on your endurance? I guess it depends. Like again, how important is this to you? Like the risk to reward on it. You know, if you're somebody who's trying to become like a firefighter or some shit and you have to like make it through the you know, the test that's like very rigorous and there's like this long endurance test where you have to, you know, lift a bunch of shit and climb up ladders and do whatever the fuck you do, and you use a little cardarine for it acutely to enhance your performance. Like, I don't know, is that a justified use of it versus just like trying to have like better endurance in the bedroom or something? Like this is all up to you at the end of the day, but just for me personally, like the risk to reward on it is not really there unless I was trying to do something like actually very performance intensive that would give me a huge competitive edge using it. You know what I mean? Like just to fucking like go on an elliptical and have it be easier, I would not be using cardarine. I'm not saying that that's what he's doing. I'm just saying in general, it's a very, very sketchy, it's a little bit of a sketchy compound that is very unknown, despite the fact that, you know, everyone seems to think the dosages was just exorbitant that caused the cancer. No, it really wasn't. So I don't know. Again, it's not like we've seen anyone actually like definitively get cancer from cardarine in humans though yet. So does that mean it's safe? I don't know, man. Remains to be seen. And it's not like you're going to be able to pinpoint if some guy got cancer one day because he took cardarine when he was like fucking 24 or whatever. Anyway, that's my stance on cardarine.
I did them in the past and you know, I'd make a lot of gains and they'd kind of not always stick around. I think once you start down that road, you're always looking to like do better than last time, right? You're looking at like, okay, let me add in something else. Let me do this, let me do that. And lately, man, I'm more just kind of about my health. Like I'm kind of about the longevity of it. You know, I don't knock anybody that wants to do steroids. Do what you gotta do. I've been there, I've done that. I ain't here to judge no other man. But I think in my opinion, the safer route, honestly, is to just, you know, if you want that little bump, you want that little boost, you want to feel a little better, SARMs is the way to go.
Okay, so this is the statement that like really rubbed me the wrong way the most, because this is like very misleading, where it's like completely incorrect to say something like this. He's holding up a fucking bottle of something that's been through one phase 1 trial with unreleased data, and then something that failed preclinical models on rodents, and then saying it's better than human approved compounds with decades of literature supporting their efficacy and safety profiles in humans, and are just as tissue selective potentially. Like there are a lot of compounds that really do compare with SARMs. Like again, it's a bit different when you're comparing the low milligram amounts, like milligram for milligram, something like LGD 4033, even RAD 140 will probably outperform a decent amount of anabolics. But again, their ceiling for anabolic activity, not as high it seems. And in addition to that, they offer the exact same side effect profile in a lot of ways. They will like, some are better than others. Again, don't get me wrong. And this is like just through anecdotal reports that we've accumulated this information to even come to this conclusion. It's not like we actually have literature and fucking clinical studies to reference here. This is just seeing hordes of blood work. Whereas at least for something like Primobolan or something like Anavar, you can actually refer to a lot of like well-constructed studies on humans in the application in a clinical setting, well-controlled stuff. Versus for RAD, we're looking at like guys on Reddit and guys who've like talked to us and shit and, you know, been through the ringer using, you know, whatever milligram dosage exposure of it and getting back a testosterone level of fucking 92 nanograms per deciliter. Like this is how we're gathering data for RAD 140. And then we're going to go out on a limb and say that this is safer than something that has fucking dozens of studies on it. Like no dude, it's not even close. If you actually look at your blood work, like I would assume this guy gets blood work done. You cannot tell me your blood work looks better on RAD 140 than, I don't know, even like a super physiological dose of testosterone. Look at your lipids, look at your liver toxicity markers, look at your kidneys, look at your SHBG especially. This kind of stuff is going to be aberrant as fuck when you're on RAD 140. There is no way you can tell me that this is going to be lighter on your health markers than something that is skipping first pass metabolism, is bioidentical, and is well tolerated for fucking decades in humans, even at slightly super physiological dosages. I'm not saying that slightly super physiological doses of test are safe or anything like that. I'm just saying they're far more predictable And we know that it's going to be probably safer than a SARM, at least based on the evidence we have provided to us. Now, again, the context in all of this is I'm actually a huge fan of the development of SARMs and the practical application potential they have. Super promising, dude. Like in a hair loss prevention aspect, androgenic alopecia models, selective androgen receptor modulators are based on the backbone of the chemical structures of old anti-androgens that are actually still used in clinical medicine nowadays. And they're more refined and a bit more, you know, they have the same opportunity presented to them, not just in a muscle building context, but in other avenues in like androgenic alopecia models, potentially. This is the kind of stuff that interests me about SARMs, and I would be very optimistic about their development. But then when we go out on a limb and say something like a first generation SARM is like safer than steroids that are literally clinically approved and have been through the ringer of FDA testing and have been used on fucking thousands and thousands of people at this point, like it makes no sense, dude. Like it is not factually correct to say that whatsoever.
And I always preach, I'm not here telling anybody to go out and do anything. You make your own decisions. You do your own research. You do what you are comfortable with, right? That being said, follow my man if you want more info, and you can make the decision for yourself. But for me, eliminating side effects, feeling good, getting a little bit of gains, SARMs are the way to go.
Yeah, so like again, this is individual response too. Just because this guy could respond horribly to synthetic anabolics. It's entirely possible, and to SARMs, and maybe he's just a very good responder and gets no sides. Maybe he has perfect looking blood work on it. I would just say it's unlikely for the majority of people that you would have a better looking health profile on 20 milligrams of RAD140 per day than the same weekly burden of testosterone, for example. Now, obviously, maybe you're not going to use 140 milligrams of test for your actual cycle. But again, if you're not on a base of test too, or some sort of estrogen backbone, like using RAD140, you're literally just like a ticking time bomb of suppression too. Like, are you going to be side effect free as a natural using LGD, using RAD140? No, dude, you're going to get your estrogen in your test crushed to fucking zero. You're going to get your SHBG nuked into near single digits, if not pretty much guaranteed single digits. Your lipids are going to be all over the place, especially through the suppression of estrogen. There's a lot of stuff that is not being accounted for when he's saying these things, and he's just saying it. I would hope he's just saying, like, for his personal experience, the blood work he's seen on himself looks good, he feels great, blah, blah, blah. But it's just saying, like, the implication implying that they're safer with, like, no actual, like, justification that makes logical sense whatsoever is just a bit, a bit of a reach for me, And again, this is coming from somebody who's published very elaborate posts about SARMs, and I'm very optimistic about their development, and I've used them myself, But again, not an accurate statement, unfortunately.
And the sixth supplement that I take when I am taking SARMs or running something of that nature.
Okay, and then he talks about, taking cycle support and blah, blah, blah. So anyways, that's kind of like the whole gist of the video. We're almost creeping on the 20-minute mark here, and I've only talked about like 3 minutes of fucking content, but that's pretty much the gist. He talks about, health subs, he talks about protein powder, he talks about greens, he talks about stuff like that. That's cool. Remington James seems like a cool guy, and I know he's friends with some of the guys that, I'm friends with too. Gorilla Mind athletes too and whatnot, but, just some of the statements made in this video I feel like were, maybe he sat down, did not really think about it beforehand, kind of just jumped into it. And anecdotally, I could see why you would, if you respond super well to something, you have like no apparent sides. And again, guys on SARMs, if you're on a test base, the likelihood that you'll encounter like a major like red flag side effect, perhaps a lot lower, because you have that backbone of testosterone preventing you from feeling like a suppressed hypogonadal old man when you're using the SARM. So it's, a totally different context that somebody may be talking into when they say it's side effect free for me and I feel great. Yeah, it's a bit different for a guy who has a fucking backbone of estrogen and test here, plus the SARM, versus a guy who's just using RAD140 or LGD alone and crushing their test into the not single digits, but double digits in a lot of cases. So again, a lot of context, a lot of nuance to what he's saying, and it was a bit too general of an overarching statement, in my opinion, to be like side effect free, it's great, fucking no worries. It's definitely something to think much further about before you just dive headfirst into it. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed that one. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplates.com. Follow me on Instagram at moreplates.dates, Facebook, Snapchat, BitChute, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. If you want to see some more elaborate deep dives into SARMs, you can check out some of the old videos on my YouTube channel. I have the most comprehensive breakdowns of all of these SARMs in clinical development and which ones are close to approval and whatnot. The LGD 4033, Ostarine. Talked about things that are related to SARMs, but not necessarily SARMs, but are often lumped into the same category, like MK, 677, stuff like that. It's all in my older videos. You can check it out, and it's all backed by pretty much every fucking study you can find on them. So you can check that out if you're interested in getting the full spectrum information, not just an anecdotal report of, you know, what it felt like for one guy, like whatever clinical research is available, plus the anecdotal data consolidated into one video. You can check that out on my channel. And if you want to support the channel, you can check out anything I'm associated with in the video description below. My TRT clinic. It's all telemedicine from the comfort of your own home. Gorilla Mind, nootropic formulas, Gorilla Mode, pre-workout formulas I designed myself from scratch, and anything else I'm associated with. It's all in the video description below. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.